Okay, and the title of today's lesson is Overcoming Relationship Hurdles. That's the title of our Shabbat lesson. Um, and like I said, we're gonna I'm gonna go in pretty deep on not all the hurdles that you typically encounter in a relationship, but I'm gonna really be focusing on the core hurdles or the core hurdle that you're gonna um, encounter in a relationship. The big things that I see people running into over and over and over and over again in relationships that me and my wife have encountered in our relationship, that we see other people encountering in their relationships, and they end up like these men you see in this race here. You know, this dude, you got some dudes. You see this dude over here on the left. He not even gonna. He said he ain't even jumping the hurdles. So we're gonna talk about these types of individuals who just said, you know what? I see people falling, tripping over the hurdles. I ain't even messing with it. I'm gonna just stay here at this hurdle. You know what I'm saying? You see other dudes just catching their foot, falling on their back over these hurdles. Dudes falling on their face. You know, you see these dudes, they got proper technique. They're making it over the hurdles, everything like that. So we're gonna hit, you know, we're gonna go in on this. It's gonna be very informative. Um, so with that said, we're gonna get into it. And the way we're gonna go through this, kind of a brief outline of this lesson is, um, these hurdles. It's it's an agenda. You know what I'm saying? These hurdles are put in place. A lot of them on purpose. So what I'm gonna do, the way this is gonna go, is gonna be kind of a brief, kind of like history of where this stuff comes from, um, and then we're gonna kind of, in a broad way, go through what the hurdles are. And like I said, the way I teach this stuff, it's not gonna be one sided. I'm gonna come from where the women, some of the hurdles that they encounter, that they're struggling with, and then I'm gonna come from with the men. And what you're gonna see is that for the most part, it all stems from the same thing. You could tie it in to one thing for the most part. Okay, but like I said here, there's a movement to keep us separate. Okay, it's an agenda to to prevent that family unit from coming together, because in order for us to come together as a nation, it starts with the family, economically, emotionally, spiritually, financially, you name it. It all starts with that family unit. Okay, and in order, and they realize that they realized the power of that family unit, way back. Well, let me reset. They didn't realize it back in the slave days. They tried other ways to oppress us and keep us back, but they couldn't stop us. And they finally realized it was that family unit they had to attack in order to uh, in order to really destroy us. Okay, and what I'm gonna also show you is that that's biblical. Okay, um, like I said earlier, marriage means nation and economics. Okay, a lot of people, oh, marriage is, sex and romance, and that's a Greco-Roman Gayfer concept from this European society, that, and they act like all a marriage is a romantic thing. They got you spending all this money on the wedding, and oh, it's all about your emotions, and oh, how do you feel, and how do you, when your marriage starts suffering, they tell you, oh, you gotta they'll tell the guy, oh, you gotta shower her with more gifts and do all this superficial stuff. Oh, you gotta get some sex toys and do all this weird, freaky stuff and turn the man into a homosexual or something. And they'll try to tell you that, oh, you gotta spruce up your sex life and all this stuff like that, when that is so far and from what it is. Okay. Another thing, and I'm not going all the way in on that, is, again, I say marriage is economics. You got a lot of men out here, they got babies, mamas, and then they get married. And when you look through the book, there's multiple wives. When you look through history, there's multiple wives in every empire. They always had multiple wives, except one empire, the homosexual Greco-Roman Empire. The Greek and the Roman Empire did not have multiple wives, because they said men are for pleasure, women are for reproduction. Okay, so they didn't. They taught monogamy, and you could, instead of having multiple wives, you go out to the bathhouse and poking men in the tail, and just being a freak show. And I mean, you don't have to study, you don't have to this, like what I'm saying is not conspiracy theory or anything like that. What I'm saying is, you don't have to do a bunch of digging to find out what I'm saying to be true. Tying that back to today, you have a lot of men who, they got babies, mamas, and then they married a wife, and the babies, and because of the poisonous society, the baby mama don't want to have nothing to do with his new wife, and they're separate, and the baby mama trying to eat into his finances and destroy him because her mind has been poisoned, and it's just a hot mess. And what's crazy, I knew that this guy I used to work with, he was a mediator, I think it's called, in the legal system. And what he would do was, instead of a case going to court, sometimes they'd send it to him to see if he could talk it out between them. Well, there was this baby mama who she had messed up the car of this guy's wife, of her, baby's father's wife. The baby mama got mad and scratched up her car, dented it. Well, then the guy's wife wanted to sue her, so it went into mediation, okay? And they were in there trying to work this thing out, and this guy who was mediating it, this guy, my friend, he told me, because he was a good mediator, he made a lot of money doing it, and he told me he got in there and he said a crazy thing happened. He said he told that woman, he said, you know what? He told the baby mama, did you know that your kids are, those are her, they're half sisters, his kids, from his new wife. And you're creating this division, and those are family members of each other, blood-related family members. And you guys are creating this, getting into this debate, this, that, and the other. And it never occurred to her in her mind that, yeah, those are her brothers and sisters. And the guy's wife, same thing. She realized that too, and they stopped the bickering and stopped fighting each other and just settled things amicably, or I probably pronounced the word wrong, but they settled things like adults because they realized that they were family. But that's what this, there's an agenda to put you against each other and all that like that. I mean, I have to do a whole show on all that, but it's a heavy reality shift. But what this society does is it puts a man in a position where he can't be a man, where he can't be a man sexually, economically, spiritually, leadership wise, whatever. It puts him in a box. You know what I'm saying? And I won't go into it any further than that. I have to do a show on all that. But like I said, I don't want to go too far into all that. But anyway, they know the power of marriage, especially for our people. They know how powerful that is. They know what can happen. Before they put this agenda on us, the typical black family was 8 or more kids. White people, it's like 1.5 kids, sometimes less than that. They're not fertile like our men are. You know what I'm saying? Or like other nations are. So there is an agenda to attack that. Okay? So what I have here, I'm gonna show you this agenda. We're gonna go into it. I'm gonna show you what it actually is. I'm gonna give you a brief history on it to show you what's working on a lot of men and women's minds to cause them to have the mindset that they have, because it's by design. So what I'm gonna do is play.
Among the slaves, and I take these differences and I make them bigger. I use fear, distrust, and envy for control purposes. These methods have worked on my modest plantation in the West Indies, and it will work throughout the South. Take this simple little list of differences and think about them. On the top of my list is age, but it's there.
And I'm gonna rewind that and play it again. But what this is Willie Lynch. It's just kind of outlined. This isn't the whole entire Willie Lynch letters. And if you're not familiar, the Willie Lynch letters was a letter that they say was given to the slave masters in order to show them how to control the slaves. A lot of people say it was made up, but the thing is, the stuff that's written in there, you see being used by the government in like the welfare system and stuff like that. You see this thing being pushed on our people through the media. Okay, so I rewind it a little further so you could get a kind of contextual understanding of it. Let me play.
And you're not only losing valuable stock by hangings, you are having uprisings, slaves are running away, your crops are sometimes left in the fields too long for maximum profit, you suffer occasional fires, your animals are killed. Gentlemen, you know what your problems are. I do not have to elaborate. I'm not here to enumerate your problems. I'm here to introduce you to a method of solving them. In my bag here, I have foolproof method for controlling your black slaves. I guarantee every one of you that if installed correctly, it will control the slaves for at least 400 years. My method is simple. Any member of your family or your overseer can use it. I have outlined a number of differences among the slaves, and I take these differences and I make them bigger. I use fear, distrust, and envy for control purposes. These methods have
So he said he uses fear, distrust, and envy. When you look at our people today, that's what you see in them. When you look at the male-female relationship today in the black community, that's what you see. Fear, distrust, envy to cause division. Okay? So to further strengthen what I'm saying, this is this is another part of that Willie Lynch letter, and it's the breaking process of the African American woman. And you tell me if you can see this at work among our women. Okay? So, me,
The breaking process of the African woman. Take the female and run a series of tests on her to see if she will submit to your desires willingly. Test her in every way, because she is the most important factor for good economics. If she shows any signs of resistance in submitting completely to your will, do not hesitate to use the bullwhip on her to extract the last bit of bitch out of her. Take care not to kill her, for in doing so you spoil good economics. When in complete submission, she will train her offsprings in the early years to submit to labor when they become of age. Understanding is the best thing. Therefore, we shall go deeper into this area of the subject matter concerning what we have produced here in this breaking process of the female nigger. We have reversed the relationship in her natural uncivilized state. She would have a strong dependency on the uncivilized nigger male, and she would have a limited protective tendency toward her independent male offspring, and would raise male offsprings to be dependent like her. Nature had provided for this type of balance. We reversed nature by burning and pulling a civilized nigger apart and bullwhipping the other to the point of death, all in her presence. By her being left alone, unprotected, with the male image destroyed, the ordeal caused her to move from her psychological dependent state to a frozen, independent state. In this frozen psychological state of independence, she will raise her male and female offspring in reversed roles. For fear of the young male's life, she will psychologically train him to be mentally weak and dependent, but physically strong. Because she has become psychologically independent, she will train her female offspring to be psychologically independent. What have you got? You've got the nigger woman out front and the nigger man behind and scared. This is a perfect situation of sound sleep and economics. Before the breaking process, we had to be alertly on guard at all times. Now we can sleep soundly, for out of frozen fear, his woman stands guard for us. He cannot get past her early slave molding process. He is a good tool, now ready to be tied to the horse at a tender age. By the time a nigger boy reaches the age of 16, he is soundly broken in and ready for a long life of sound and efficient work and the reproduction of a unit of good labor force. Continually, through the breaking of uncivilized savage niggers, by throwing the nigger female savage into a frozen psychological state of independence, by killing of the protective male image, and by creating a submissive dependent mind of the nigger male slave, we have created an orbiting cycle that turns on its own axis forever, unless a phenomenon occurs and reshifts the position of the male and female slaves. We show what we mean by example. Take the case of the two economic slave units and examine them closely.
Okay, so again, it making her psychologically independent, taking the male out the picture. Even today, you see that with the legal system, the child support system, the welfare system, all that. You see the same thing. You see this coming from the media where they're pushing independent women. Who are their agents who push this stuff, who work for them? People like Oprah. All these people making these movies, these people out here making these movies or TV shows, Housewives or whatever, all these shows where they show the black man in a bad light, all these movies that come out now where they're showing the black man in a bad light that they've been coming out with. One of the worst movies, believe it or not, if you really look at this movie critically, that they've come out with is The Color of Purple. Okay? Because what it did was made slavery in those times, it made the black man look like he was at fault in those movies, okay? So it's in the media. If you grew up in a single parent home raised by your mother, this is what she did. She feminized you as a man, unbeknownst to her, because she was brainwashed. But this is what goes on. And it's that agenda. This thing is so big, it's hard for people to even realize it. Okay? So, yeah. Thanks, Brother Dow. All right. So let's move on to the next slide. Okay, so this is another video, again, showing this brother's just talking about what I kind of just said, just reiterating it. I guess this is in the 70s. So let me play this video.
This is Swoop, and this is Real Talk, Real Solutions. I wanted to talk about how welfare destroyed the black family and how it relates to this movie, Claudine. Claudine is a 1970s movie about a single mother trying to raise her 6 kids. And she starts a relationship with this man that tries to be a father to her kids. But the welfare system doesn't want this man being in the household. What a lot of people don't realize, when welfare first started, you couldn't have a man in the household. You had to be a single mother in order to get any assistance. If you got married, you would lose your assistance. If you had any man in the household, you would lose your assistance. And this is how they destroyed the black family. Because once you take the father out of the household, there is no family unity. This is why over the last 40 years, 70% of black kids have been raised in a single mother household. This is one of the greatest black movies I've never seen. I'm going to leave a link in the description box. You can watch the whole movie on YouTube. This movie is about real struggle. It's about real life. I advise any black person to watch this movie. I think the welfare system needs to be reformed, in my personal opinion, so that it fits the lifestyles of a 2-parent household. I think this creates an entitlement mentality. This is why I don't support a lot of these government-ran programs. I think black people need to start being more independent. We need to start being more self-sufficient. This is the only way we're going to build stronger black families. Every child deserves a father figure in their life. And the reason why a lot of these boys are joining gangs and getting in trouble with the law is because they never had a father figure in their life. Only a man can teach a man how to be a man. And a lot of these younger boys are being raised by single mothers. They never had a man in the house to teach them how to be a man.
Okay, so like I said, there's a agenda to get the man out of the house, to turn the woman against the man. This is book, because Satan goes after Eve. He goes after the weaker vessel. Okay, and that's what they do now. And, like I said, see, for me, I don't watch TV. I really dabble in media from time to time. Like my wife just said tonight, she wants to watch this movie. So we're going to watch it, and we watch it for those types of purposes. But outside of that, we just dip and dab in the media, because when I watch the media, like I watched part of the Super Bowl, and when I watch it, it's, to me, it's because I'm watching it so critically, it's just screaming to me all the poison, and it's like, oh, and I can only watch it so long. And I like that. That's a good place for me to be. Cause like there's a video I saw, this guy's talking about how he has a friend who worked in the CIA. He retired. And he said his friend told him, he said, you know what, man? He was like, one of the worst things you could do is watch television. He was like, you have no idea what it's doing to you. He said, if you watch TV or if you go watch a movie, you have to watch it critically. That means you can't sit there and be like, and just go into the zone and float away in it. You gotta watch it and analyze what you're taking in and watch the agenda. Same thing with this Black Panther thing you see going all crazy. Okay, there's a lot of heavy stuff in that I think a lot of people are missing. So, but anyway, let's slide on to the next slide. Okay, what I put here, this is Deuteronomy 28, verse 45. These are the curses. Deuteronomy 28 details the curses that will come upon our people if we didn't keep Yah's laws, statutes, and commandments. It says, moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee and shall pursue thee and overtake thee till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to keep his commandments and his statutes which he commanded thee. So I put this in here because it said all these curses are going to come upon you. It says, until thou be destroyed. And a lot of people think that when slavery happened, that's when we got destroyed. That's not true. Excuse me. We weren't destroyed. After slavery, they were talking about how one of the first things that slaves did when they got out of slavery was they got married. Okay? They began having families, 16 kids and more. It's in my family history on both sides, my mother's and my father's family.
I come from a family of 7 kids. I'm the oldest.
Yeah, and I'm talking about, but your great-grandfather and all, yeah, we had big families.
Oh, yeah.
And the government saw that. They saw our work ethic after we got out of slavery. They said in 50 years' time, these people will overtake us if we don't do something to stop them. And that's when they started burning down all these cities and having so-called race riots. Because what race riots really were was white people coming into black communities, destroying everything we had. So they knew there was something that had to be done. But we weren't, all that to say, we weren't destroyed back then. Until we be destroyed is now. Look at us now. Even in the Hebrew Israelite community, you barely could get people to get along. The marriages in Hebrew communities are still jacked up. They've made the culture so seductive that people are wanting to, well, I could just sip a little bit of it, and that little sip of this wicked culture that they're taking in is destroying them. It's called wreaking havoc in their marriage and their family. The book says, come out of her, my people, and don't partake of any of her ways or whatever. I don't know if I quoted that right, but you understand what I'm saying. Okay? So it's like, you got to see this thing. Like, I really don't like this culture because I see how unsustainable it is. I see how destructive it is to us. Okay? But we are destroyed now. Look at the hip hop music. We're right on the cusp. Is the floodgate just opened, I would say a couple months ago, for full out mainstream gay rappers. I mean, there's been gay rappers out there, but I'm talking about full out mainstream, shoving it down your throat. It's going down right now. Okay? it's getting ready to get pure ugly out here. Like I see how much in a couple years, and we got a couple years. In a couple years, it's gonna get ugly. It's gonna be it's gonna be a straight line between, hey, I'm on this side or I'm on that side. I'm partaking of this culture or I'm not. You're gonna have to make your mind up soon. Like, I already made my mind up. I don't want nothing to do with it. Like, people hyping Panther or whatever that movie, Black Panther. I mean, who cares? Like, I'll go see it eventually, but who cares? $100 million we spent on it. And all that money went to some Jewish guy. Who's over that all that stuff, Marvel and all that? It ain't your black ass. So, I mean, and it shows that, look, we got money. We got money. Look at the money our women spend on weaves and hair care stuff. We got the money, but we don't have the spirit. Our minds ain't right. So, and it's because we drinking in all this stuff. So Brother Debrew, he wrote, since I've been in the truth and see things with my mind, it's easy to recognize the poison. Exactly, D. Exactly. Brother Dow says, Satan will be raising the bar because his time is short. Yep. That's airtight, Brother Dow. That's right. I'm telling you. You can see it, man. You can see that thing. And it's going to get more and more obvious. That's why people like us, we got to be out here getting the word out any way we could do it. You know what I'm saying? But now our people are completely destroyed, or they're getting there, where there's just not a shred of the women are men now and the men are women. Like the women, you go in Walmart and the women are these, big, fat, nasty, war pigs. Like that's what they look like up in there. Like they got a shirt on with a hole in it looking like a dude. And then the dudes, I'm like, is that a woman or a man? Is that a chick with no tits? Or is that a dude? Like, we're almost completely, totally destroyed. Like, go into Walmart and go check it out. You know what I'm saying? If you want to take a sample of where our society's at, go drive through the hood. You don't see thugs walking through there no more. You see daggone gayfers. You know what I'm saying? All right. So this is what I just said. Black Panther reigns supreme with $100 million, the best second weekend haul ever prior to summer. So this is my thing. We got the money. Like it ain't oh man, cause we broke. That's why we ain't. You got Nubians and Moors up there. Oh, we need black business and all that. Dude, black folks got money. Don't get it twisted with that. We got money. Right. We don't got our spirit right. We love this Greco-Roman gay culture. That's what's off. But that's not what this lesson's about. But I'm just saying. So, like we talked about, we're going to kind of go into it a little more. We're going to talk about the independent black woman. Okay? Now, we're not just focusing on that because we're going to talk about the soft, go-along girly man also. So we're coming equal with this thing. But we talking about the independent black woman. Okay? That's what we're talking about. All right? And like I said, this society has done a number on our women. That, like, they know that their primary target has to be that woman. Back in the day, advertisers and marketers realized that if they target the women more, like back in the 60s, 70s, 80s and all that, and the women's liberation movement, and they realized if they target the women more, they realized that it was easier to get her to go in there and buy something because what? The woman's more emotional. Okay? But that's why the Bible says that that woman needs a covering. That woman needs a man over her. Okay? All right. So, independent black women, these women who proclaim this don't realize they have been brainwashed. They don't realize it. And you got to consider, you got to humble down and consider. And, you know, but you see it a lot. Lonely, independent black woman. Being an independent black woman is lonely. A lot of these women are, they're lonely because dudes ain't dealing with them. Okay, dudes are not dealing with them. And a lot of these women don't know what to expect when they get in a relationship with that mindset, and they destroy relationships. I wrote here, if a man can't rule and guide in his home, Satan will wreak havoc on that home. Okay? And this is Mark chapter 3, verse 27. It says, no man can enter into a strong man's house and spoil his goods except he first bind the strong man, and then he will spoil his house. This is what's happened to our people. Okay, they turn the strong man into a girly man, and they empower the woman, and they just they sit back and just let her wreak havoc on that house. Because they know the woman's like an antenna for whatever they're pumping out through the media or whatever they got her brainwashed into getting her identity from. Okay? It's funny. Me and my wife walked into a furniture store, and the salesman in the furniture store came up to us, and he's like, hey, how you doing? You know, and I was like, yeah. I was like, y'all, you guys, sell bunk beds here? He's like, yeah, they're at the back. I was like, all right, boom. Walk straight to the back. I'm looking at him. And he came up to me, he's like, you know what, man? He was like, I like it. I like when women come in here. He like, because when the men come in here, we put the bunk beds at the back because they're cheaper. So we put them at the back, and we know we get a woman walking in here, she going to look at everything in here before she get to the back to those bunk beds. He's like, when the men come in, they go straight to the bunk beds, and they come straight back out. They trying to get in and out. And I was like, it's a perfect example of why they want to empower the woman, because they serve to benefit from that, and we serve not to benefit. It destroys us when that woman doesn't have the covering over them, stuff like that. And yeah, you got that independent black woman, and everybody like, and Brother Raphael, you can chime in on this. You got a lot of dudes up there pointing the finger at the black woman, and you got these movements. Brother Raphael, put in some of them that I don't name, but you got like the Red Pill movement, the MGTOW movement. You got Hebrew Israelite groups sitting there telling you, these are Hebrew Israelite groups, that you should not marry our sisters. You shouldn't mess with them at all because they're destroyed this, that, and the other. You got the alpha male movement. You got all these movements where these dudes are like, the alpha male movement is just coming out of being some soft dude. Hey, there's a MGTOW and then there's some other, the Ibmore movement, Ibmore. So there's all these little movements where these dudes are saying, be done with sisters. You got the alpha male movement and dudes teaching you how to just use our sisters basically for masturbating in. That's it. Never get in a relationship. Harden yourself. Don't catch emotions. Just use them for what you could get out of them. Like, there's all these different movements out there that's pushing the Willie Lynch agenda. And these idiots don't even realize it. And part of the reason is, like, they have the alpha male movement where you're manning up as an alpha male, and you stand up for yourself. You don't let any woman, subjugate you. You stand up for yourself and all that. But that's like me and Brother Raphael were talking about last night. What they don't realize is that's one step in your development to becoming a real man. On the pie of being a real man, of getting to that point where you become leader of men, that's a small sliver in that pie. And they don't realize it. These men have moved, they've become alpha male. Now that they see, it's like they realize, hey, I can man up, and women respond to it and are attracted to me being a real man. So they use it to take advantage of women and just use them for, for some puss. And then informed black man of reform. That's what the Ardmore movement is. So there's all these movements out there. But they use these things that are in the Bible, but they use them to their advantage just to masturbate in women. And how long can that last? Then you get tired of that, and all you're doing is using women for sex. Then next thing you know, you're gay, because that just doesn't do it for you anymore, And they don't realize it's just one step. So you got a lot of these dudes, they're pushing that to just use the sisters. Don't ever marry them. Just use them. And like one of the guys that I watched out there, I could say this guy is God's judgment on whorish women, because he got this thing down to a science. If they don't put out by the second date, they're out. He got all these techniques to get them to put out on the first or second date. He's just pushing the agenda of Satan to destroy his nation and doesn't even realize it. So these are selfish men pushing this. Other thing about these people in these movements, they feel like they're being real men, but they're not real men. Because a real man helps his nation and helps these women. They don't make the connection between Willie Lynch, COINTELPRO, the welfare system, the media, the agenda they're pushing on us. They can't make the simple connection on that and realize and empathize and want to help their sisters and hang in there with them and fight through the brainwashing and the dysfunction that these women are dealing with as weaker vessels, because we're put there to protect them, to wake them up. But they can't fight through that. Like, they can't get through that. They're just caught up in their own emotions. These dudes teaching this stuff are weak. They still girly men. They done deceived themselves, but they're pushing a wicked agenda. So it's sad. Like I said, like I was telling my wife today, at the end of the day, the responsibility always lies with the man. Okay? But the blame and the responsibility does not lie with the man like the media portrays it. Okay? The blame and responsibility lies with the male in a more biblical, masculine, stand up and fight for that woman. Fight for that woman's spirit. And if you got to fight her for her spirit, fight her for her spirit, fight for that woman to help her get her mind right. And these dudes don't got that in them. These dudes ain't soldiers. These dudes, anything you looking at, you see right here on the screen, I always got some camouflage or something reminding us that we are in war. We're at war up in here. Okay? And I always got something that I'm putting out there to remind myself and remind everybody, you're at war. You're a warrior. These dudes, because Brother Raphael sent me a bunch of videos of these dudes teaching this stuff. And I can see right through these dudes how weak and soft they are, and they just want to live some fantasy, easy life. They ain't soldiers. They ain't trying to fight for this nation. You know, they just want to get with they're just greedy, opportunistic agents for the Greco-Roman beast system. And they're poisoning things, you know, because you're so weak, you can't stand up to a daggone woman. Instead, you're telling everybody, cut them off, don't ever marry them, their bad relationship stuff. That's Tony Sotomayor. Now, like I said, Tony Sotomayor and these other dudes that Brother Raphael sent me, I would call it a quarter truth, because it's not a half truth. It's a quarter truth. They're pointing out all these women's issues, and they might bring you into awareness on it, but after that, they don't have any solutions. Their solution is, let's continue wrecking our nation. They ain't got no solutions on how we're going to take care of these kids and what to do when you're married to one. They just tell you divorce them. No, you got to stand up and fight for your home, for your nation, for her spirit, and all that stuff like that. Brother Dow said, there is no fear in love. Perfect love drives out fear, because fear has to do with punishment. Yep. The one who fears is not made perfect in love. 1 John 4:18. Good word, Brother Dow. All right. So, and I think we'll go into that a little more, but yeah, and this is like a movement. Like, these dudes pushing this stuff, like YouTube is like this dude is experiencing explosive success and exposure with YouTube, because YouTube has an algorithm and YouTube has crawlers on it that, which these are programs that when you upload a video to YouTube, they listen to you. It can actually listen and voice recognition and listen and analyze your video, and certain stuff it's not pushing. So it's tough. Like I noticed my videos, all of a sudden the growth ceased with it. And I have some ideas of what happened that caused that. But if you're pushing their agenda to destroy the Hebrew nation, oh man, you're going to experience explosive growth on YouTube and on a lot of this stuff. That's why pretty soon here, I'm going to be standing up my website to where they can't shut me down. You know what I'm saying? And that's going to be sooner than later, in the next couple weeks. But anyway, all right, let's go. What I put here, I wrote, Satan seeks to undermine proper family structure through media and society. These are powerful tools on the emotions. That's why I say you got to watch TV. And I deal, like when I'm dealing with my wife, I know her, so I don't got my guard up. I get her, we understand each other. But when I'm dealing with people that I really don't know, family sometimes, when I'm watching stuff on the media, I watch it critically, because there's an agenda behind everything. I have to do one on the agenda on that Black Panther movie, because people been talking to me about it, but I need to go see it before I really go talking on it. But anyway, so they're powerful tools on the emotions and heavily target women or women. I spelled that wrong, but in my education. But anyway, but they heavily target our women. So this is a battle that, like, these soft dudes who teach all this stuff, they don't want to go through the fight of weaning a woman off of the media that they're sucked into and addicted to, that's giving them bad programming. That's a battle right there. But dudes ain't soldiers, man. Okay. I wrote the people who benefit from relationship dysfunction. And you guys can contribute. You too, Koya. Who serves to benefit from relationship dysfunction? And some of the people who would benefit are Koreans. They benefit from it, hair stuff. I wouldn't say that's relationship dysfunction, but
The legal system.
Koya said the legal system. They serve to benefit. Yeah, that's one. Lawyers,
Yep.
they benefit. I'd say the child support, or not child support, daycares benefit from relationship dysfunction. Fast food stores, because when you don't have a woman home to cook or a man's just living by himself, or whatever. Who serves to benefit from that? Put that in the comments. Who's benefiting from these dysfunctional relationships? That's something you got to ask. This really all this country's businesses and everything benefit from it because it prevents us from becoming a nation. The jail, the prison system serves to benefit from relationship dysfunction because, hey, they're locking dudes up who don't pay child support. You got children who are being bought up and there's no man there, so they get into a criminal lifestyle. You also have the medical system benefits greatly because you have all these homosexuals getting sick, getting disease, So black family dysfunction is big business. It pays to push this agenda. Okay? What I'm saying takes money out of these other nations' pockets. Okay? All right. So I put 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 19. For the wisdom of this world is foolishness with God. For it is written, he taketh the wise in their own craftiness. Okay? And like I keep saying, this system they have is not sustainable. It's not going to last. So now we're going to really begin to get into the solutions and the answers to these hurdles in relationship and really begin identifying exactly what these relationship hurdles are that you're going to encounter and how to deal with them. And I wrote here, wisdom is the key to relationship success. Okay, that's the big thing. And a lot of people don't have wisdom. Okay? And this is because the biblical definition of wisdom is Yah's laws, statutes, and commandments. But I just put the dictionary definition of it because I thought it was good. It says wisdom is the quality of having experience, knowledge, and good judgment. The quality of being wise. It also says the soundness of an action or decision with regard to the application of experience, knowledge, and good judgment. Okay? So that is a good definition. And Yah's word is wisdom. But even in the Hebrew Israelite community, the stuff I'm going to be covering and the stuff I'm going to go get into rarely gets taught. Everything starts here. The lost art of self-examination. I watch knowledgeable Hebrew Israelites teaching deep Bible doctrine, like layer upon layer, like heavy Bible knowledge. And I can see flaws in their personality. It's some of the groups I've been around here. Like I've met people and like before they even say a word, I see the dysfunction on them. because the biggest resistance you're going to have is your flesh. It doesn't want to be analyzed or changed. People have come up with crafty workarounds, covering stuff with their doctrine, all that, to avoid this self-examination. Applying this word to themselves, to their flaws in their character. Everybody has them. I have them. I'm still working through them. I got areas, new things that I'm realizing it's a whole universe of wisdom that I need to begin seeking in certain areas of my mindset. But I watch people teach and say stuff, and been around people who their underlying communication, like their subliminal communication, and I could discern their spirit is, I'm perfect, I'm good, I got this word, I got this thing. Even Paul said, unless he be a reprobate, he stay in this thing and stay grinding on it. And grind on what? Getting your mind right. Because Satan always working on your spirit. It's a spirit world working against you. And a lot of people are fully under the control of these demons out here. I'm just putting it like it is. It's like 90% or more of the work that needs to be done in our nation is this self-examination, getting your mind right. Not you could learn Bible doctrine in a month of hardcore focused study, and you could get Bible doctrine down. But getting out from under this demonic oppression and demonic possession, and getting your mind right from all this poison that's been dumped in you by this wicked demonic society. That's why God lets you live to 90 years old, because it takes that long a lot of times. This is the heavy work, okay? People are walking around with spiritual baggage and are too lazy or fearful to deal with it. They are tired and beat up from carrying it around. This spiritual baggage hinders them from truly carrying out Yah's will. Dude, you still see beef among Hebrew Israelite groups. You know they ain't got their mind right. And there's a couple groups you watch in the coming months. There's a couple Hebrew Israelite groups that are getting ready to go in hard on this thing. A couple of people come to mind are Priest Shabbat and Priest Daniel Allah, AOC. They come out and really talked on the dysfunction and that's out there with these groups. And they ain't mad at him. They like, he willing to get cursed out and he ain't gonna get in his emotions over it. Like he not taking the heart, because he's developed his spiritual mindset to another level. Don't even let me get into relationships, because I mean it, but you got to get your spiritual baggage right first. Like I see, like it's a selfish thing, because I done dealt with people who toting tons of spiritual baggage and they throw it on your back. And so you see these people walk around with all this dysfunction and their mind ain't right and stuff like that. And look, that's not the issue. But when you trying to cover it over and act like it ain't there, now we got an issue. And I can't rock with you. You know what I'm saying? Because you're not being honest. You're not confessing your sins one to another and being honest. And I'm not talking about like the Catholic Church of, Hail Mary, full of grace, Father, I have sinned, and all that crap. I'm just saying, like, just like what I just told you, I got stuff I'm dealing with. I'm constantly working on myself, progressing, refining, getting myself right with this word. There's a lot of dudes who can't say that, who can't admit where they off at. And then mugs jumping into a marriage, and then they can't. They try to act like it's the woman, or the woman act like it's the man. I gotta say, like last week, I was watching Nation Builders, and the brothers on there teaching. I like following them. They bring out some good word. Well, this lady is in there, and she just interrupted, and she like debating with the dude over what he teaching. I was like, imagine this lady's marriage. I know she ain't married. And she complaining that the other woman's heads weren't covered and saying all this stuff. And it's like, but you off. It's like, what are you doing in there arguing with this dude in the middle of his show? Like, I don't go up in the Christian church on Sundays and argue with the pastor and all that. Folks is off. Like, this is the biggest thing, man, is that folks is off. We know we Hebrews, but a lot of us is Hebrew niggas, like I keep saying. All right, Luke 11, verse 9. And I say unto you, ask, and it shall be given you. Seek, and ye shall find. Knock, and it shall be open unto you. The reason I put this in there is what caused me to cling to this word so hard, and to just day in and day out, just seek it out. And I don't will and make myself do it. I do it because I've felt the dysfunction. I've felt the pain of being off. I've known I was off. It's like, and I just knocked and knocked and knocked. And Lord, I want to get this thing right. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I put that in there, because this is true. Like, when you start really digging in this thing, you'll find. But what I watch a lot of people do, they start digging into this just to find all this deep, esoteric, doctrinal stuff, and they all jacked up. Okay? All right. So, relationship hurdles. What we're going to talk about here is relationship roles and requirements. Contrary to popular belief, the relationship requirements for a man differ from those for a woman. Because society will say, oh, you just got to be, come together and be equal and all this fair stuff and all this stuff. But no, what women need from a man in a relationship, for a relationship to work, you could boil down anybody's relationship problems basically to this stuff right here. What a woman needs from a man. So the way a man in a relationship for a woman, for things to run smooth with him and that woman, for them to be in a long relationship, that man needs wisdom, leadership, and to be steadfast. Okay? For a woman, what a man needs for a woman in order to be in that relationship is wisdom, submissiveness, and for her to be shamefaced. And I don't think I put the definition of shamefaced, but just to be humble. And I should, let me pull up the definition for shamefaced, because it's going to really show you a picture of exactly what's not going on today. Okay? So here we go. All right, there we go. Okay. So here we go. That's the definition of shamefacedness. It says modest or bashful. Shamefaced, apologies. So bashful, like the shyness and all that. Not all that haughty, proud. Well, I'm an independent, like that one girl was in that picture I put up. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's not shamefaced. And the Bible calls, I'm going to pull up the verses, for a woman to be that way. But that women today are haughty, proud, loudmouth, be up in your face, all that stuff like that. Submissiveness. You know what that means. And then wisdom. And for the man, leadership. There ain't none. Dudes is like, well, I just ain't gonna, like all these dudes I was talking about. Some of these Hebrew Israelite groups telling you, oh, cut sisters off. It's just gonna be a fight. But they're not willing to fight for them and to be like a soldier and a leader and to be steadfast with these women and hang in there. They just give up on them. They don't go through, they're not willing to go through tough times. They're still feminine, they're still feminized because they can't deal with frustration. It's like they're not leaders in a war. They're not soldiers. It's a battle. The whole book is a bunch of war analogies and battling. He's telling you it's going to be a fight. But these dudes pushing that agenda, these men out here pushing this agenda to, oh, just use sisters for whatever you could take from them. Now you making it worse. Or these other dudes, oh, just have nothing to do with them. So now you shrinking your nation. Like you weak. Get in there and fight. You can't fight a woman for her own good if something's off. So, but we're gonna get into this more. Okay. So this is a big one here. This is Colossians chapter 3, verse 5. And it's funny that, you never hear this getting taught because people love this European society. So this is Colossians chapter 3, verse 5. Mortify therefore your members which are upon the earth from fornication, uncleanliness, inordinate affection, evil concupiscence, covetousness, which is idolatry. So look, he's saying, kill these things in yourself, these behaviors. And what you're going to find out is these behaviors are emotions. And what you're going to find out even more is that, we'll just go into the next slide. So it said inordinate affections. So the definition of inordinate is unusually or disproportionately large, excessive. And then affection is a gentle feeling of fondness or liking. Synonyms for that: love, or what you're looking at here, when it says love here, it's talking about the worldly definition of love. Because the world's definition of love and what the world pushes it as love is inordinate affection. Okay? It's an emotion. The Bible's definition of love is God's commandments. God's laws, statutes, and commandments. So you see a lot of people destroying their life over something that they were warned about in this word, inordinate affection. Okay, Brother Raphael, he put 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 7 through 11. He put, likewise, ye husbands. Okay, I got you. Yeah, I'm that one. I'm getting ready to pull that one up. And it's saying, dwell with the woman according to knowledge and honor them as the weaker vessel. So instead of getting frustrated, cutting them off, saying, hey, don't ever mess with them, if you have wisdom, you realize, look, they're weaker, and this brainwashing in this society is going to sink its teeth deeper into them because they're not built like you. You're built to be the covering, to be the shield of that family. You're built for that. She's not. But society brainwashes everybody into thinking, oh, they're putting out every single movie that comes out now. The woman's the head. She's the fighter. She's the big, strong, tough. And the men are the silly buffoons running around. Star Wars was like that. So to be a real man, you got to strengthen yourself and have the wisdom and realize what's going on. That's wisdom. Deciphering what this society is doing to you and fighting it. So them brothers teaching all this crap they don't have wisdom. They're stupid. They still feminized. They're in their emotions, but Satan has still deceived them. Because what? Satan's a deceiver. And the only way you're going to see it is to truly be up in this word. And then it said evil concupiscence. So evil, strong sexual desires, lust. Evil lust. And lust is not a sin, but evil lust. Evil, strong sexual desire is. Hey man, yeah, I'm gonna just run through that pussy and then I'm out. I'm done. You know, doing all these women wrong like that is evil. Another evil concupiscence or evil lust is when people think they're in love, but it's really lust, and then they just run with that instead of checking the word of whether they should get married. Okay? Okay. So I put some, because this is one of the issues. I'll talk about it when I'm done reading this. It's some strongholds are only broken by prayer and fasting. Mark chapter 9, verse 29. And he said unto them, this kind can come forth by nothing but by prayer and fasting. So to put this in the context, because I couldn't fit the whole chapter up there. So to put that verse in the context is what happened there. There was a man with demons on him, and the apostles, the disciples tried to cast a demon out, and they couldn't cast it out. And then Jesus came and cast it out. And they asked him, why couldn't we cast that thing out? And he said, this type of demon only comes out by prayer and fasting. And I can attest to that in my life, stuff I've dealt with. I couldn't will it out of me. I couldn't study the word and get it out of me. I had to pray, fast, and seek the Lord. And when I say seek the Lord, study the word and stay in that thing in order for him to pull it out. You see a lot of people, this goes back to that other slide where I was saying, this is why a lot of people don't change, because they don't know how to battle these demons, these demonic strongholds or these demonic possessions that are on them. They don't know how to battle them. They don't know how to overcome it. There's nothing out there being taught for them to get out of this stuff. And they just say, hey, they come up with some silly doctrine to justify it, sweep it under the rug, and don't really want to look at it and address it. But like I said, some of this stuff, you got to really go in hard. Pray, fast, seek the Lord, and really, go hard on this thing to get it out of you. And I'm telling you, you will, when you've developed yourself and you've been studying the word and you have spiritual discernment, you could just see this on people everywhere. Okay, so 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 1 and 2. So this is the scripture Brother Raphael posted in there. It says, likewise, ye wives, be in subjection to your own husbands, that if any obey not the word, they also may without the word be won by conversation of the wives, while they behold your chaste conversation coupled with fear. So this is directed at women, because sometimes, because of you weren't educated and you got into a relationship with a man and you didn't realize he was an idiot or he was off or there was something off about him, well, your natural response is going to be to argue with him and debate and nag him and come at him with what his issue is and his the responsibility that he doesn't have. Because a lot of women, when they start getting this truth, they're like, well, what do I do when he's off like this? I see he don't line up with the word. So a woman's natural knee-jerk emotional response is going to be to nag that man and just battle him. But that's backwards. That's the programming of this society. This society tells the women to get in there and argue and debate with him and nag him and it tells a man to back off, it's actually the exact opposite. That man is supposed to be battling with the woman, but if the woman wants to win the man over to Yah's way, she needs to, it says, have a chaste, quiet appearance. Not appearance, let's read it. To be in subjection to him, so to be submitted to him, and that if any obey not the word, they also may without the word be won by their wise conversation, by her good submissive behavior. So a woman's supposed to win the man over through Proverbs 31 obedience, to be a subjective, quiet wife. That will win the man over. You are not going to win a man over nagging him and yelling at him. You see a lot of women, or I'm sorry, you see a lot of men who their wife go off to church and they don't go. And what's the pastor? The pastor ain't telling them this, because the pastor know he start preaching this, he know that's going to hit him in the pocket. So you ain't going to see a pastor up in 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 1 and 2. Okay? But again, in order to do this, there's a spirit that's been put out to our women that they have to overcome in order to actually make this happen. Because you can't just will yourself into doing this. You're going to be battling with your emotions and all that brainwashing. All right. So this is Ecclesiasticus 26, verse 14 through 15. It says, a silent and loving woman is a gift of the Lord, and there is nothing so much worth as a mind well instructed. It goes back to that shamefaced woman again. A shamefaced and faithful woman is a double grace, and her continent mind cannot be valued. And I looked up the definition of that word continent. I have to do it again, but I think it basically means, because it's like, well, I'll just pull it up here. It's funny, for that word continent, you got to dig pretty deep to get the use of it there. Okay, because the meaning is it's like the seventh definition of it. It says exercising or characterized by restraint in relation to the desires or passions, especially to sexual desires, temper. So a woman that's not super emotional, she can control her emotions. So a continent mind, a controlled mind, cannot be valued. And that is exactly the opposite of what you see out here in society with the women. But again, that's a result of the programming out here. The like pretty much, I could tell you this, if you got a woman who watches Housewives of Atlanta, she's gonna be the exact opposite of this right here. She won't even be able to receive that. Okay? So again, it's a result of, because this society programs our women the exact opposite of this. And this is why these brothers is out here teaching, oh, give up on the sisters, this, that, and the other. But they too stupid to see that this is Satan's programming and that they doing Satan's work telling people that. You know, our women, because us as men are not fighting, not being soldiers, then our women get spoiled. They get destroyed by this society. So these dudes up here expect, well, this is how black women need to be. Well, dude, you got to get in there and make that happen. Because you the representative, you the leaders of our nation. And you the leader of our nation, you telling the nation to separate. But at the same note, the women have work they need to do too. They need to be able to receive this too. Okay? All right. So we got Proverbs 31, chapter 3. This goes back to the man again. It says, give not thy strength unto women, nor thy ways to that which destroyeth kings. So this is King Lemuel's mother telling him, this is a woman, an older woman, instructing her son, don't give your strength to woman. You got to be a leader. Women. Yeah. Telling him you got to be a leader. This ain't what happens with this day and age. You got women telling you to, or mothers telling you to back down and let her roll over you. Okay? But if you don't want hurdles in your relationship, you got to take the leadership role. And most dudes, I'm telling you, most dudes ain't man enough to hang in there with this type of battle. All right? I put walking in Yah's way does not mean going along to keep the peace. Wisdom and kindness can hurt feelings. Okay? But Christianity tells you, oh, it's love and homosexuals and cupcakes and flowers and stuff like that. You know, that's what they're telling you. That's what Christianity teaches. But that's not reality. That's why the divorce rate is just as high in the churches. It's probably worse. Okay? Okay, so we're going to read through 1 Peter chapter 3. And this is going to cover some of what I think Brother Raphael posted. So it says, likewise, ye wives, be in subjection to your own husbands, that if any obey not the word, they also may, without the word, be won by the conversation of the wives. This is what we read earlier. While they behold your chaste conversation coupled with fear, whose adorning, let it not be that outward adorning of plaiting, the hair, and of wearing of gold, or of putting on of apparel, but let it be the hidden man of the heart, in that which is not corruptible, even the ornament of a meek and quiet spirit, which is in the sight of God of great price. Okay? And again, this is what you don't see in our women today. All right? It says, for after this manner in the old time, the holy women also who trusted in God adorned themselves, being in subjection unto their own husbands, even as Sarah obeyed Abraham, calling him Lord. See, and this, you could laugh at this, especially in a Christian church. You could laugh when you read this because you think this was a joke. Whose daughters ye are, okay? As long as ye do well and are not afraid with any amazement. So, again, and called Abraham Lord. But this is something else you got to look at in here. She called Abraham Lord, but how did Abraham act? Did he had leadership qualities. A lot of these dudes, a woman, all right, I'll call him Lord. Like this, there's women out there who got this spirit, but it's just so hard for them to do this because the dude is a joke. Okay? He not leading. He not being that leader and all that. And and there's a lot of Hebrew dudes. Oh yeah, you need to call me Lord. But okay, but you got man up. All right. So again, I think you're beginning to see the simple pattern that you could boil any problem down to the stuff I'm trying to bring out today. It says the woman has to trust that man more than her emotions. With this in mind, you won't just pick anyone. So this is heavy, because I'm not saying just go out there and pick some guy and all that stuff. But when you realize, when you read over these verses as a woman and you realize, look, I got to be subject to him in all things, and this dude is my leader, you ain't going to just choose anybody. You're going to do some serious consulting of the word. You're going to be praying. You're going to have, if your father's in your life, have him check the dude out. And you ain't just going to go over there and spread your legs and let somebody run through it and be like, hey, let's get married and be pushing it. When you realize that this is how you got to be, if you're real about this word. Because I say you got to trust this man more than your emotions, because sometimes your emotions are subject to being all over the place. And that man is going to be the anchor of, or the pillar of truth or whatever, of guidance. I mean, that's real talk. You can't get around that. Think about it. Once a month, your emotions kind of go haywire. That's why a woman needs a covering. But you got to pick a right. Think about what I'm saying, because if you pick an idiot, you're going to pay for it. If you make an emotional decision off your emotions like society tells you to do, you're going to pay. And that's the payment for transgressing Yah's law. Okay, in the Hebrew culture, the fathers would set those marriages up. And that is just works so good. But in this society, Oprah will tell you, what y'all, you just need to go with what you think. She giving marriage advice, and I don't even think she married. I think she a lesbian, really, but that's another show. Okay. So you had the independent black woman. Well, you also have the go along to get along girly man. You got that man who he just doesn't want conflict. He's just going to kind of let things go the way they go. And they can't understand why the marriage is going down the drain. And the direction of the family, economically, financially, spiritually, is falling apart. And he's asking her, hey, what should we do? And she like, the woman don't even know why she don't like you, but she knows she don't like you. And that's because you're go along to get along girly man. All right. And Proverbs 31:3, again, give not thy strength unto woman, nor thy ways to that which destroyeth kings. And we're a nation of king and priests. Ecclesiasticus 25:22, a woman, if she maintain her husband, is full of anger, impudence, and much reproach. The Bible's tough. When a woman knows you're not a leader, instinctually, she's turned off to you. And you're saying, oh, we're arguing because of this, and we're getting in this argument because of that. And no, the reason you getting in arguments and she angry all the time is because she's maintaining you. She's the leader in the house, and you're not. But they don't know. They're just going with what they're feeling. They just feel turned off, and they're not sure what it is. And you're thinking, and both of y'all thinking it's everything else. Oh, it's because, it wasn't sunny today. That's why. It's every other thing but the truth. But the truth is right there in the Bible. But this is exactly what dudes don't want to do. That's why you got these silly clowns saying, oh, the black woman is this. Look, the black woman is the strongest woman out there, bar none. She was right there with us all through slavery. She was with us all through this whole oppression. And for these clowns to be teaching what they teaching, I could come at them real hard. I could destroy them in a debate. That how weak they are. Some of these dudes just teaching them, oh yeah, we just here to run through them hoes. That's it. That's what we doing this year. This, that, and the other. Come on, man. You weak. You destroying your teammate. You know what I'm saying? You scoring points on the other on a other team's basket. You know what I'm saying? These people are off, and they need to be made. They need to realize it. So Proverbs 14 verse 1. Every wise woman buildeth her house, but the foolish plucketh it down with her hands. So a lot of these women who don't have wisdom, they're watching these shows and they're sitting there arguing with their man, debating against them. And I'm saying this because dudes be at work telling me stuff. I be talking to dudes online. I've seen this stuff over and over again. I hear the war stories. Like the dude at my job was telling me this. It's a new trend of child molestation accusations. What the woman will do when she know you a stand-up guy, but she turned off to you and she know you ready to move on or whatever, to ensure she get the most out of everything. And when she angry and she just a wicked woman, all they do is say, hey, he touched the child. And that's all she got to say. And you going to spend up all your money trying to stay out of prison or trying to have child visitation because she just mentioned those words and put them on some piece of paper. She just ruined your life that quick. And I mean, a brother was just telling me that his wife threatened to do that to him if he tried to leave her. And that's not a wise woman. She's tearing down her house. But these women don't think it makes a difference whether the man's there or not, because they're being told, I'm independent. I can do it by myself. You know, they watching Star Wars and all the movies showing women doing this, that, and the other, but they're not looking at the numbers. They're not looking at the news. They're not looking below the surface at the destruction of black families and why they so jacked up. They're not looking at how strong the black family was back in the 50s. The black family was stronger than white families. Like our marriage rate was higher. We had more kids, less divorce than all the other nations. We stuck together, and they realized that with that COINTELPRO program, and they picked it apart till you're at what you're at now. It's a joke. All right. Ecclesiasticus 25:23. A wicked woman abideth the courage, maketh an heavy countenance and a wounded heart. A woman that will not comfort her husband in distress maketh weak hands and feeble knees. So what it's saying is a wicked woman is going to just destroy that man. I'm telling you, this scripture hits hard because I met a dude at my job. I was talking to somebody and he literally exemplifies this. I mean, and you know, I ain't gonna put out some of the stuff he said, but it, you know, you can make a movie out of it. It's crazy. But this scripture is real. Okay? So this is 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 6. But though I be rude in speech, yet not in knowledge, but we have been thoroughly made manifest among you in all things. So this is Paul talking, saying he could be rude in speech, like the way he says stuff will hurt people's feelings. But it's society pushes, hey, your feelings should never be hurt. But I mean, you know, you got offensive language versus defensive language. Sometimes you got to be on the offensive. You got to, I mean, that's the way situations dictate. Okay? It hurts. When a child gets a whooping, it hurts. And if you ask them, they don't like them. But sometimes they need them. And sometimes people don't like verbal whippings, but sometimes there's a need for it. Because that is the exact thing that will, sometimes that is what is needed in a relationship. And I know Folks don't agree with it, but that's book. All right, Proverbs 21, verse 19. It is better to dwell in the wilderness than in the house with an argumentative and angry woman. So these women, like again, there's somebody at my job. I'm telling you, he leaves his house on a regular. Okay? All right. And then this is Titus chapter 2, verse 3. This is another hurdle you see going into a lot of relationships causing dysfunction. And it's talked about right here in the book. It says, the aged women likewise, that they be in behavior as becometh holiness, not false accusers, not given to much wine, teachers of good things, that they may teach the young women to be sober, to love their husbands, to love their children, to be discreet, chaste, keepers at home, good, obedient to their own husbands, that the word of God be not blasphemed. And I'm just telling you, I'll put it like this. I've run into so many dudes who can't stand when their mother or their mother-in-law comes around because they sow so much dissension up in their house. Like, this is the norm. So this is how you know Satan is at work. Because the Bible is sitting there like, this is prophetic. All the stuff I'm reading is prophetic. Like, people don't know how much prophecies in the Bible, because you see the Bible in explicit detail breaking down exactly what's going on in 90% of the black homes today. All right. So this is Ephesians chapter 5, verse 23 through 25. For the husband is the head of the wife, even as Christ is the head of the church, and he is the Savior of the body. Therefore, as the church is subject unto Christ, so let the wives be to their own husbands in some things. Is that what it says? Some of the things?
All things.
In everything. Husbands, love your wives, even as Christ also loved the church and gave himself for it. This is such a heavy verse that so many people miss. And the thing they miss is that how the church was subject to Christ is a model of how you need to deal with your wife. The way Christ dealt with Israel, because the church is the nation of Israel.
How to make
The church is our Hebrew nation. So as a man, because this is something I always wonder about, there's not a whole bunch of stuff in here on the surface of how a man is to deal with his wife. Especially that crucial point of when your wife is in the house being a monster. Nobody's teaching on that. But then when you begin to study, and there's verses like this, Christ is your model of how to deal with your wife. Just how did Christ deal with Israel when they were acting up and going crazy? Did he give them roses and chocolates? Or did he come down upon them with discipline and get them in order, force them to get back in line? So in Christ dealing with our nation, you have a model of how you need to deal with things in your home. When Israel was disobedient, what did he do? Did he come down and give them cupcakes and flowers? Or did he punish them for their disobedience? The other thing is, again, you got to keep going back to these dudes that, some of these dudes Raphael put me up on. It's like that they so off because they didn't say, hey, never mess with him again and all that stuff. Like, you can see these dudes ain't of God. Even the Hebrew Israelite ones that's telling you, hey, don't mess with our women and all that stuff like that, that to give up on them. Christ hung in there for the church. He dealt with their disobedience in a certain way, you know. Yes, he gave the northern tribe a bill of divorce, but he gave them plenty of warnings, and they went out and played the harlot on him. Okay, and I'm not saying if your woman run out and cheat on you, I'm not saying, oh yeah, you know, be done with her, whatever. But I'm just saying, Christ was what? Long suffering. You know, he dealt with them with wisdom. It wasn't always a hammer with him. It was a ton of warnings, plenty of warnings. You know, it wasn't always yelling, you know, and he genuinely loved them, loved us, loves us. How did Christ deal with you in your life? When you've been off for years and years, he was patient with you. So that's the same way we have to deal with, you know what I'm saying, our wives. A Christian church says, oh no, don't get mad, brother. You know, don't get anger is a sin, brother. No. God had all the same emotions you have. He had anger, he had jealousy, he happiness, love, all that in a righteous way though. Okay? So we got 1 Timothy chapter 3, verse 5. For if a man know not how to rule his own house, how shall he take care of the church of God and rule the house righteously? And ruling the house righteously is with wisdom, you know, or you're going to have problems and you're not going to understand why. So we got 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 1 and 2. Likewise, ye wives, be in subjection. So we already went into this again, but just reiterating that, again, if you're a woman and your husband is off, you can't find anywhere in this Bible where it tells you to nag him. On the same note, if you're a woman and your husband is off, you should bring it up to him. You can't, it does not say you can't tell him, honey, if you invest our life savings in lotto tickets, I don't think that's a good investment. You know what I'm saying? So if he's an idiot, you should warn him. Just like what's that story where King David came to that dude's house and the dude was an idiot, you know, and the wife went ahead and told King David, look, my husband's an idiot, but here, you know, gave him whatever he wanted. And because King David was about to ride down on her.
That was Nabal.
Nabal.
Right.
So the Bible does not say that the woman, because my wife, sometimes I'll be doing something and she's like, well, maybe blibbity blop, this, that, and the other, and maybe we should do that. And I'm a wise man, so I'm like, hey, you're right. We should do that.
A kindly suggestion.
Yeah. Or it don't even got to be kind. Michael, we can't do it that way. This, that, and the other. Okay. Well, let me go look. But it's not, Michael, we can't do it that way. Michael, we can't do it that way. Michael, we can't do it that way. Michael. You know, it's not nagging. You know what I'm saying? So you know, understand that, but realize the true way you're going to win your husband over, your most powerful tool. And it's hard to even wrap your head around and consider because you never seen a model of it work. But your most powerful tool is to do what the word says here. Just be with your chaste conversation coupled with fear. So you humbly and righteously tell him, hey, you know, I don't think we should invest our life savings in that lotto ticket. You know what I'm saying? He was like, your chances of winning are this. Maybe we should put it in the real estate. And then hopefully he's like, okay. You know what I'm saying? All right. So wisdom, You know, that is wisdom right there. All right. Because I don't want a lot of people push that scripture and they don't get all the meat off the bone with that. Let me go back to that real quick. Because dudes be posting that scripture and they don't get all the meat off the bone with it, where it says, they also may, without the word, be won by the conversation of the wives while they behold your chaste conversation. It doesn't tell you to shut up. You can talk, but have some respect, because a man doesn't like to be disrespected. If you disrespect that man, you're chopping his manhood down, and he can't go out there and be as big of a warrior when he knows in the back of his mind his little 120-pound wife at home be punking him. You know what I'm saying? That's real talk. All right. So we got 1 Corinthians 11, verse 8 through 9. For the man is not of the woman, but the woman of the man. Neither was the man created for the woman, but the woman for the man. So why does this society push the exact opposite? It tells you to serve the woman and to treat the woman like she's put her on a pedestal, like she was made for you. This is a heavy thing to get your mind wrapped around when you're in this society, that your woman is the support structure for you.
The woman was made for the man.
Exactly.
But she wasn't made to over the man.
Yeah, she's made as the support structure for the man. And I done heard this crazy breakdown. Yeah, somebody was telling me the man was created. I mean, the woman was created for the man, not the woman for the man, or not the man for the woman. So that means that the woman don't need no man. The man need the woman. That's some crazy Christian demonic witchcraft Satanism up in there. But that's how off people are. And you could probably, like, them people probably got terrible relations. But a woman is going to be turned off to you if you treat her like you were made for her. When you treat her like she was made for you, like this Bible tells you to, in accordance with Yah's word, righteously, she going to be all into you. If you cupcaking her and getting her roses every day and, you know, sucking on her toes because you worship her and licking her feet clean, it's going to turn her off.
No woman wants a toast.
Nah. It might feel good the first couple times. Eventually, like, this dude is a chump.
Nasty.
Yeah. So, well, yeah, you know. But yeah, then y'all got any questions, you know, or comments or anything, go ahead and put it in there. If anybody out there watching, you know, if they got anything. But in conclusion, because I want to conclude exactly what I'm really trying to say is, if you having problems in your marriage, there's really one marriage hurdle in there. And I'm not just telling you this because I came up with it. It's because I've studied this, I've used it in my marriage, and I've talked to tons of people about this stuff and helped counsel a lot of people with relationship issues. I'm talking about walking some people through divorces and preventing people from divorce and all that stuff. And I'm telling you, there's pretty much one hurdle in the marriages, and it's basically righteous leadership. If the man is a righteous leader, that's it. Everything else will work itself out. You know what I'm saying? It really all ties into that man. But the man, because if you're a righteous leader with wisdom, you'll be able to get that woman to understand her role and all that. If you're a righteous man and a leader, you're gonna know with your wisdom when you need to, because this never gets taught, when you need to beat a hammer and hurt feelings and go off and yell at that woman, or you gonna know when, hey, she's just a little emotional, or hey, you know, it's not
I need
this.
a different tool. I don't use
Yeah. There's
Maybe a
different
screwdriver
tools
this
you got to use in different situations when you're dealing with these women, and it's right there in the Bible.
Right.
And they appreciate when you can guide them and direct them into a better emotional
Troubleshoot.
place. Yeah, emotionally troubleshoot them. Hey, you just hungry. Hey, you PMSing. Hey, I'm really an idiot. I really was stupid doing that. Because that's sometimes too. Like, I screw up sometimes, but I'm man enough to admit it.
Right.
I've run into men, they won't say they wrong. You know what I'm saying? It's no cookie cutter approach, but once you get in the word and you deprogram yourself from this destructive, poisonous beast system, you learn how to deal with a woman, and you, like that script Brother Raphael put up there, you learn that a woman, it said, you learn that they're the weaker vessel and to deal with them according to knowledge, awareness, wisdom, according to the wisdom of this book. Sometimes you're sitting there, well, she ain't PMSing. I wasn't wrong about that. So you might have to blaze up and yell, you know what I'm saying? Or sometimes, hey, I was a big idiot. You know what? I screwed that up. You're right. You know, but so many dudes I've run into, they haven't got things right in their mind on step one, getting your mind right and having a good understanding of who you are. Because me and my wife been married 10 years. Well, we've been together 10 years, married 9. But a lot of it is wisdom, humility, being a righteous man, being whole. I watch a lot of dudes, they're full of so much pride and insecurity. I dread for them to get in a relationship because they can't, it's just going to be a bunch of wars because they can't, you know what I'm saying, be real with themselves. If you can't be real with yourself, how are you going to be real with the woman? And a woman is a barometer of how much of a man you are because they're sensitive. They can pick up on stuff better than you can, in the physical and in the spiritual. You know what I'm saying? As far as how much of a man you are, if you're a leader and all that stuff like that, they're sensitive to that thing. So if you fake and you off, or you are socially off and awkward, they see it, and it's a turnoff. And a lot of us, even me, I got a lot of work I got to do in areas still. Now, I'm very developed in my walk because I'm being careful not to say, hey, I'm there, I'm the one. I ain't. I got work I got to do. But I'm at a level where I could discern where people are just not doing any work. They just kind of treading through, just trying to keep it simple and painless.
They're
Yeah.
comfortable in their lack of development.
Yeah, they're my wife said they're comfortable in their lack of development, and they're in their comfort zone.
Right.
And you ain't no soldier if you ain't in the comfort zone. You see the camouflage on either side. You see right below me it say spiritual combat because it's war. And war ain't comfortable. You gotta, part of being a man is learning to be comfortable with the uncomfortable.
Right.
You know, you're a man, so you can subjugate your emotions and use wisdom and stuff like that. But yeah, so yeah, with that said, I see nobody has any questions. I'm glad you brothers hung in there and all that. And I hope it was informative to everybody. I just realized I'm really beginning to see it in the past couple of weeks with stuff I'm seeing online and at work, and people who are talking to me, people who've reached out to me too. But that is crucial that I kind of buckle down more and teach more on this, because people, like, I can remember when I was in crisis situations. And when I say a crisis situation is when you're in the argument with your wife, when when the communication's done and what's going on and what's the big picture and why is this happening, and you stressing and you can't think straight. You're not trying to study God's word and learn about the northern tribe and the southern tribe when your mind is in chaos like that about this woman that your emotions are wrapped up in. You want answers. And this is why a lot of people end up not studying the word, because nobody's teaching on the answers to these relationship problems. So that's why I teach on this, and that's what this lesson, is about. So we gotta I'm gonna buckle down on this more. I'm gonna be putting out more lessons on this, because I realize once you are developed, you are developed into a righteous biblical man, and you get that family aligned, the nation will build itself. I don't have to harp on you about getting this nation built and pushing all this. All that's gonna come on its own. But a lot of people I try to do stuff with, they mind ain't right, or their mind might be right, but their wife's mind ain't right. So the wife mind undermines what we trying to do, and we can't build. So this is the foundational part of getting this nation built. So that's for the foreseeable future. This is what I'm gonna be, harping on. I mean, that's what spiritual combat is about anyway. So, but anyway, with that said, appreciate it, Brother Dow. Appreciate you listening. And like I said, I'm gonna reach out to you so we can set something up. We'll probably meet up tomorrow, me, you, Adonai, and just talk and chill. But with that said, I'm going to conclude this broadcast. Appreciate y'all tuning in, and Shabbat Shalom.